So welcome to Events Heist, the podcast game show about post-COVID events and event managers. And today we'll be playing with Victoria and Dee Dee. Victoria, could you kick off by introducing yourself with your name, title, and company?
Hello, I'm Victoria Matey, and I'm an event consultant specializing in event psychology. And my company is called Matey Events.
Fantastic. Dee Dee, over to you.
Hi, my name is Dee Dee and I'm an organizer. I organize specifically medical conferences and been doing it for the last 12 years. One of the more interesting things that we do is that we organize medical conferences with cadaver body parts. So I move body parts around the world as well for my conferences.
Wow, I'm definitely going to delve into that. That sounds amazing. All right, so Victoria, you've rolled a 1. And let's start with your first question. How many events have you run in your professional career?
A few dozens, I think.
And how many of those have been virtual?
Because I do consultancy over the last few years, I don't really run events, but I help event organizers to do that.
All right, Dee Dee, over to you. You've rolled a 2 and you're going up the ladder. Okay, so your question is, how many years have you been an events professional?
So I've been an events professional for 12 years.
And how many events have you run in your professional career?
I think for myself specifically, I've run over 30 conferences, and as a team, we've run over 50.
Victoria, you've rolled a 6. So Victoria, tell me about the biggest event that you organized or you were involved in.
I worked for the business incubator and I did events for them for the partnership of incubators based at universities, UK universities. And the event, it was called an investment showcase. And it was meant to be sort of networking and learning event for investors and for startup companies.
Okay, Dee Dee, you rolled a 5. So Dee Dee, what is your favorite post-event junk food or drink?
Oh, I like to have a good whiskey.
Tell us about how you got into the events industry.
I got involved into doing some projects and events for the university, and then I just got interested into producing events specifically.
Dee Dee, tell me about the first event you ever organized.
Well, the first event I ran was when I started in sales and marketing. I was in a medical company and we had to organize a cadaveric workshop. And that's how I got started with all the body parts and things like that. So it's very interesting because in Malaysia, and we're talking about 20 years ago, we do not have access to body donation or organ donation programs. So what we had to do was we had to rely on Jane Does and John Does, whom after 2 weeks, the government, the police in the public hospitals could not trace them. And so their bodies get donated for medical education. And that was how I started organizing my first event.
So tell us what you love or hate about events.
What I love about it is the opportunity to meet new people and also to get a grip on what people do in different industries.
Have you met any celebrities on the job?
I've not met any celebrities that we know from the movies or from shows like that. I've met celebrities in the medical world, but only the doctors know who they are. So I don't know if that counts.
Okay, so Victoria, describe the moment you knew that COVID was going to turn the industry upside down. The very moment it dropped.
I don't really remember that because I haven't immediately came to my mind that it will be so life-changing for events. It was happening gradually in a way. People were thinking that it's just something that will pass very soon. I think because it was happening so gradually, the realization of how huge the impact was, it didn't came immediately to me. I remember thinking that no, we're not going back to any normal because there is no normal anymore.
And I'm going to ask you the same question.
Well, if I remember correctly, it was actually in the month of February. I didn't think that it was going to change our industry as drastically as it did. But being in Asia, being in Malaysia, when the news started coming out from China, we were very much aware of what happened when SARS took place. So I started preparing my team for it, and we were talking about, reduce, less number of people traveling for our international conferences to Malaysia this year. We have to be prepared to, tighten our budgets, marketing spend will be cut. We had those kind of conversations, right? We were all prepared to work from home, but what I didn't expect was that, for events and conferences to cut down completely and for borders to close for this long.
So what do you miss the most about live events? And what do you not miss as well?
First of all, I don't really think that virtual or having more virtual events is a bad thing. I can't really complain because, for example, if I compare virtual and in-person in this sense, I wouldn't have met so many people during the past year if not virtual events. In a way, I like to meet them in real life as well. But in terms of how many I've been able to meet already, virtual events are better for me. They're working better for me. Yeah. So
I mean, we wouldn't be on this show right now if it hadn't been for the whole show shift into virtual. Okay, Dee Dee, you rolled a 1 and you are down the manhole.
Oh,
oh.
I go.
So if you could have an unlimited supply of just one thing at an event, what would it be?
Alcohol?
That's exactly my answer too. Have you read or watched something recently that you'd like to share with other event professionals?
I just finished the book by neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett, and the book is called 7.5 Lessons About the Brain. And because I work on event psychology and I focus on event psychology in my work, I read, a lot of books on neuroscience and psychology. This book is just perfect, because it is about really 7.5 lessons about our brain, which I believe everybody should read because it explains so many things, so many findings from science and from neuroscience specifically, that can be applied to everyday life, that can explain so many things in personal and professional life for everyone, that I just cannot recommend it enough.
Thanks for that. So you rolled a 5, DD, and I think this is going to be down a manhole back to where we were. classic events right there. It's like, yay, I rolled a 5. Oh, okay, now I'm back to where I was before.
Oh, this feels like the whole of last year. You redo, you've got your marketing plans, you've got your sponsorship packages, you've got everything rolled up, and then they go, oh no, it's postponed. So we shift everything. And then they go, oh no, it's postponed again, and now we're going to go to hybrid. So you redo everything and recall everybody, tell everyone, the speakers, the sponsors, and then it happens again and they go, and now we're going virtual. And I'm like, oh my God.
That's why I like snakes and ladders, because it's just a great analogy of events life. So tell me your favorite funny, crazy war story, your event war story. You must have some good ones with body parts involved, I'm guessing.
Yes, I think when I first started with body parts, I learned that, we all come in different sizes, and there were so many things that we learned about it. So one of the funniest was, I was told, Dee Dee, you got to bring in 6 shoulders, right? And I get my body parts from the US because they've got great donor programs there. I brought in 6 right shoulders, and then we laid it all out, and it's all deep frozen. So we have to defrost them, and it takes 48 hours. It's a gradual process of defrosting, right? But then what happened was that I ended up with a shoulder as small as mine, right? This tiny, petite, 5 feet tall Asian woman. And then I've got a shoulder of this huge guy because he's massive. He's a bodybuilder. He's got tattoos all over the place. It was my second cadaveric workshop. So I didn't know that. I took everything out. I put it on the table and we're going to defrost it. But then guess what? The big shoulder does not defrost as fast as the small shoulder.
Oh, God.
When we got to the practical part, the doctors at the tables, they were in different workstations. The guys who got the big shoulder, they were like, Dee Dee, it's still frozen. And then I was running there with the hairdryer, trying to defrost it. Oh,
Oh,
I
wow.
learned my lesson, and then I learned it's funny, and I don't mean any disrespect to the people who donated.
All right. So, what is your favorite type of event?
Conferences. I love our industry events, our industry conferences.
When do you think live events will return to your region? And if they do, what kind of form do you see them coming back in?
I think live events are slowly coming back. We are allowed to have local events now. So we're looking at small packs, 100 to 150, although we are allowed to go up to 50% capacity of the venue space at the moment, right? It's just kind of also the confidence of the attendees coming back to it. It's going to be a gradual process, and what I see in the future for us will be hybrid.
Okay, so who's your favorite speaker, dead or alive? You could pick any speaker you want. It's your own event. Who would you pick?
Oh, yeah, I'm not really sure,
You
really.
got a lifeline that one to Dee Dee? All right,
Yeah.
Dee Dee, over to
Oh,
you.
okay. So his name is Professor Freddie Fu. He's one of the top sports surgeons in the world. I love him because he's a flamboyant character. He has high demands. He flies in, comes in, does the workshops, does the teaching, and then he flies out. I don't know how he keeps up with it. He lands back in his practice, he operates, and then he flies out for the next meeting. His demonstrations, his workshops, it's always very, very entertaining. Someone that I've worked with over the years, have the privilege to work with him.
So, what's your emergency kit during events?
It's bandage and it's sewing kit and scissors and tape.
So, my question to you was I've heard recently people comparing different generations and saying the older generations want to go back to life, but they're finding that their younger audience are actually more, they're actually quite happy for virtual events. Have you had any experience of that? What's your take on that?
I think for me, most people are looking forward to going to face events, but maybe when it comes to professional events where you have a wide range of age group, right? Then I find that the younger generation feel more comfortable to interact with the seniors, on screen rather than face to face, because there's that intimidation factor. It's kind of a mixed bag right now. So we just got to go in and look at the different categories of people and the type of events that we're organizing.
So, when do you think live events will return in your region, and how do you see that playing out?
I think it will, it is happening already, but it's uneven distribution.
How do you think Zoom fatigue is affecting virtual events? Just the saturation of both video calls and events through Zoom and other video conferencing platforms.
I think the platform itself, it's not that tiring. It's the fact that when we look at Zoom a lot of times, we tend to think that, oh, this is work. And then we get into this, oh, I'm working my brain really hard and then I'm becoming very tired. But then you get Zoom parties and everyone's online for 5 to 6 hours and nobody complains that they're tired of looking at the screen, looking at their boyfriend or girlfriend across the screen and they're chit-chatting for hours. You don't get that Zoom fatigue there. And then you talk about you talk about kids and people who game. Gamers spend hours on the screen, and it's just really whether they are interested in the content. So I don't think there's so much a thing as Zoom fatigue. It's just more of, are we really interested in the content or what's really going on?
What is your best or worst attendee story?
I think my best attendee story would be a few years back. We were doing a conference, a medical conference, and I had this speaker come in all the way from the States. He was a very, very highly and well recognized specialist in his field. At the same time, I have one of my attendees, which is a doctor, and he is looking after this patient with a rare condition, a young girl who had to drop out of school because she was wheelchair bound and the family were not well to do. So they were in a city or town, which is about 3 hours away from Kuala Lumpur, where the conference is taking place. So my doctor contacted me and said, hey, do you mind if you could arrange with the speaker and then we can have like a free consult or something for this girl because the parents are obviously not well to do. And I said, yeah, why not? Let's do that, right? I had one of the spare meeting rooms and, I kind of spoke with the speaker and he said, I'm happy to see this patient and your doctor and the parents. And I said, okay. So we kind of arranged it. The ambulance came on that day and then they brought the patient in and I just brought them all into a room, and I said, here's a room for you, a space for you, and if you excuse me, I've got a conference to run. So then I run out because there's so many things happening in a conference, right? And I totally forgot about it. So 2 days later, when the conference ended, my doctor attendee came to me and he said, I really appreciate what you did. You don't know how much it meant to the family, because there's no way they could have afforded to fly all the way to the States to even get a consult. And the speaker was really, really good. And he sat down with them and they had a good solid hour or two of consultation. So to me, that was something that was really, really meaningful. And to today, it reminds me again and again why I focus so much on medical.
Okay, so Victoria, over to you. You rolled a 5. If you could give one piece of advice for planning a great event, what would it be in the current climate?
My best piece of advice would be use behavioral science in your event design.
Okay, Dee Dee, you rolled a 5, and I think that's the end of the game because you've reached the end too.
Okay.
So my last question is just a funny one. If you could pick one pet, if you could have an event pet, what kind of animal would it be?
I always pick a dog. I love dogs. I've got one. You could hear him. He was barking just now. They lift everybody's spirits up. They are always happy to see you. And there's nothing more genuinely happier animal than having a dog there. So we have a dog-friendly office. We bring our pets to work. We respect that some of our colleagues may be scared of dogs and scared of pets. So we welcome cats as well. So dogs and cats. Can I have 2?
Fantastic. Thanks so much for being guests of Events Heist. It's been amazing. It's been great to have you on and pick your brains.